again for another Tuesday Night Live. Lots to talk about, so let's throw straight to Pete. How you going, Peter?
Yeah, g'day, mate. Thanks very much, and welcome everybody to the AFL Crowcast for another Tuesday Night Live. Great to have you all with us, and just plenty of going on in the world of AFL. Sorry, I'm just getting an interruption. Plenty of going on in the world of AFL, and Nikki, you're joining us tonight with the AFL news.
I am indeed.
Sorry, everybody, that was really bad, but I had a bad interruption there. So focus now.
What are
Macca
you doing,
Phoenix,
Pete? I was
just
playing the intro.
don't even ask me. Macca Phoenix, how are you tonight? How are you guys?
Nicky's news.
Oh, I didn't hear the intro. Sorry,
we don't hear it.
You never do.
Oh dear!
Jeez.
Having a nightmare.
Oh my God.
I'm
We're
great.
so professional.
We need a bloody production meeting. That's what we need.
I'm great, thanks, Pete.
So basically what's going on in the world of AFL, because I've actually been homesick, so I got to watch VFL 360 tonight. Joe Watson said some words I don't really care. Apparently he's going to make a decision at the end of the year. Whoop-dee. They're all still talking about whether Nick Riewoldt should play on or not, and it's a big deal whether he does or not. Well, it's probably a big deal for Saints supporters, so that's a fair point. And that's up to him and the club, and I think they've actually handled it quite professionally. So, and it'll all depend, and he is getting on, but I think with such a young team, he has been fairly integral to when he's not there. It really shows how much they miss his leadership on field.
I think the big thing for Riewoldt is his ability to back up week after week. He's starting to put in one good one every 2 or 3 now, and whether he can back up again next season and be consistent is probably the big issue for them.
Yeah, stole my lines there, Phoenix. I think that's the key point, and I think although you're right, Nicky, that he does provide leadership. If he doesn't play overly well, it neutralises it to a large degree. So I think he's 34 already, and he's been a champion. And I think that I'd like to see him retire while he's still got some of those qualities, rather than become a hack.
I think it's reflective of a wider issue that there is in AFL, particularly with retirements. And I reckon we've got the same kind of issue with Tomo, and that's that these guys are on contracts, they're making money, they're still probably pulling $200,000 or $300,000 a year, and so they just won't pull the pin.
And you're quite right. Tomo's a very good example of that. Tomo's been a magnificent servant for the club. I mean, 300 odd games, and not many players do that. And in those games, he's given his heart and soul. Yeah, he makes clangers and all the rest of it, but he's done some magnificent stuff for the club. And he's gone on 1 year too long, and now we look upon him. We don't try to look upon him, but there's that little feeling that he's no longer a good player, and he's a hack. He's just gone on too long.
And he should have been told. He should have been told at the end of last year that that's it. But the problem is, that you give these, and they've been champions, you give them a choice, and what are they going to do? Of course, they're going to take the money.
I would too. I mean,
Yeah, I would as well. It's a real issue.
When you've got nothing to go to, and you can get $300,000 or $400,000, why wouldn't you?
The other thing I think we need to have a little chat about is the match review panel. And Wayne Carey said some very interesting words on Talking Footy last night, that his impression was that the match review panel did not want to actually suspend Dusty Martin.
They invented a bloody charge for him.
They did. And I think that very much has some legs, and a lot of people are actually agreeing that, it's very suspect. But also the whole discussion around how he was tagged on the weekend and how horrible and bad it was, and you just contrast it with what they say about Sloane, was, he just needs to, get over it and deal with it. So as soon as Dustin Martin is, precious little Dusty, he can't handle that. Well, we saw what he did. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, there was a little extra factor, I suppose, with the Robertson-Martin situation, is the fact that Robertson was belting him in the back all the time. And I know that Stoney's been copying some of that, but this Robinson was a little bit. He was over the top. There's no doubt about that. And in the old days, you could get even and fix him up one when the umpire wasn't looking, and which he deserved, quite frankly. I've got no sympathy for the other guy at all.
Oh, rubbish, Macca. Absolute rubbish.
Well, I've got no time at all, and that includes the guys that do it to Sloane too. The guys who keep hitting and punching and pushing all the time.
You mean like Tex?
That is not in there. But we're talking about to one guy non-stop. That's not in.
Macca?
Can I finish? That's not in the game of football.
Go back.
It's been in the game of football.
Go back and watch a game on the weekend.
It is not part of the bloody rules of football.
Go back and watch our game on the weekend and watch us target Lewis all game.
Hey, I've got to say something there, Macca. You hit the nail on the head. It's not in the rules of the game, so you're actually directing your ire at the wrong people. If taggers get away with stuff, they'll continue to do it. And the problem is not the taggers, it's the bloody umpiring fraternity that do not adjudicate on taggers. We've got
I agree with that.
We've got 3 umpires out on the ground, and if we don't want players to be playing hard tags and niggling and giving little rib ticklers and all the rest of it, which I don't disagree with myself, but don't blame the bloody taggers, blame the umpires.
Well,
or more importantly, the umpiring department.
You're totally correct. I agree with that. But by the same token, it's very hard to blame the player for responding.
Well, it's not. But then,
the match review panel did that on the weekend. They blamed Tex.
Yeah, you're pointing at the wrong direction. I agree. If I was a player and getting niggled and tagged like that, I'd probably lash out at some point as well. You just get sick of it. But the simple fact is that it's the umpiring of that particular type of play that is the problem. And we've seen all season inconsistency with regards to off-the-ball stuff. Jumper punching took a while to get in check. We've had lots of different things. And the umpires and the AFL probably just need to get very serious about how they're adjudicating the game at the moment.
Yeah, they just play free kicks and it'll stop. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not hard, is it? But it apparently it is hard. And someone on SEN brought up a very good point. What other sport in the world at professional level allows for as much off-the-ball stuff as AFL? Probably only hockey, or like ice hockey, and that's because it's a bloody intrinsic part of the game over there.
Oh, I saw an ice hockey game when I was in America, and it was between Russia and United States. Russia and Canada at the time of the Cold War.
Oh, that would have been on.
Oh, seriously, Nicky, I was terrified. I thought World War III was going to start. They were killing each other. Hockey sticks against their throats and ramming them up against the wall, and hitting them over the head with the hockey stick. But that is a brutal sport. But coming back to what Phoenix said, there is no other game apart from that allows such stupidity, which is not part of the game.
See, in hockey, there are specific roles to be those protectors. So they call them the goon. And they're employed to do that, to protect the rest of their players and to start fights. So that's probably the only one where it is allowed. But, yeah, it was just ridiculous what happened. And it was also quite interesting listening to Jordan Lewis because they did show the vision to him tonight of his swing at Tex. And quite hilariously, you have Robbo going, "Who's number 21?" And there was a pause and somebody goes, "Atkins." So he doesn't know who our players are. But Lewis actually said what he was trying to do wasn't trying to swing at Tex. He goes, "Oh, yeah, it wasn't clenched. I was trying to elbow him in the arm." And he then, gave me a rib tickler back. And as soon as I heard the words, "your reporter Tex," he said he felt really bad because he started it and he's got no problems. If I'm going to niggle in that way, you've got to cop it back. And he actually felt bad that Tex was the one who was reported.
I'm sure he didn't feel that bad.
No,
that's what I was thinking.
I think that was him bringing on his good bloke persona.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, Bernie did get 2 weeks for his little blow to the head of Eddie and did get fined for the hit on Douglas.
Nikki, that was one where we actually agreed and predicted that.
Yeah, I mean, it was so obvious that that's what he was going to do. That was also interesting that they were talking about that Bernie is actually one of the match day coaches. So he's on field, that's his role, is to actually coach on the field the youngsters through. But Melbourne do have a serious issue with that stepping over the line and wanting to be unsociable like Hawthorn, but they've just taken that step too far. And every time they show all those instances, they're all off the ball, niggles, and often they're the ones who are starting it.
I don't think it's a big problem, though, Nikki. I think this is a
club... they just need to pull their head in.
No, I just think it's a club rediscovering their identity, and they're obviously wanting to play a certain way and to reimpose themselves on the competition. They've been laughing stocks for years, Melbourne, and I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing. They've obviously the pendulum swung a bit far with Melbourne, but I don't necessarily blame them for what's happening at the moment, and I think they'll find a balance. And I think it's actually good that they're at the moment trying to impose themselves, even if they are stepping over the mark a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phoenix. I think that if I was a Melbourne supporter's point of view, I'd love the fact that they are hard and tough and uncompromising physically, and it is easier to pull it back a little bit rather than be able to put it in. Like for example. I believe Atkins needs a little bit more fire in his game, and it's harder to put that into your game than it is to take a little bit back.
Now, Nikki, I'm going to leave this with you just for a second. I'm having some problems with my microphone, so I'm going to unplug. I may not ever return. So,
God.
Pete's back as well, so I'm disappearing. I may come back, I may not.
Well, I thought I'd just end with all the little bits and pieces, the injury updates, particularly the fact that we've got 7 players who are up for a test. Now, Sloan with his